In my childhood, in my youth, he may have been the most beloved athlete in the United States. And pretty much everyone who has played basketball since he did idolizes him. The one, the only, Dr. J. Julius Erving is with me here on ESPN Radio. Good morning, Dr. J.
Good morning, Greeny. How are you today?
Well, listen, if you had told me when I was a kid that someday I would say good morning to you and you would call me Greeny, I would have said, I'm going to have the best life of anybody in the world. So there we go. You know, I told a story earlier, by the way, about you today that I don't know if I ever had the chance to tell you, but I'm sure you haven't heard. In 2008, when I was hosting Mike and Mike, we had the two presidential candidates at the time, then Senator Obama and Senator McCain, on the show. And we made it. We didn't want to show any favoritism, so we asked them all the same questions. And one of the questions we asked was, "Who was your favorite athlete growing up?" And Senator McCain said Ted Williams, and then Senator Obama said you, Julius Erving. Have you ever had that conversation with him?
I have. I've had the privilege. It was actually in 2016, and my family and I and my attorney and my nephew visited President Obama in September of 2016, and I presented him with a signed Converse shoe, which he enjoyed receiving,
Uh-huh.
and he presented me with the story of being one of his heroes when he was growing up, and that touched me in a very special way because it's not something people just talk about every day, and it's not something that happens to a person regarding a president of the United States, especially one who had 8 years in office and did the bang up job that he did.
Yeah, it's got to be something. I mean, it's one thing for Michael Jordan to say he grew up idolizing you. It's another thing when the president of the United States says, I grew up idolizing you. The great Dr. J is with me. All right, so they put a bunch of stats up here for me, and most of them I don't need. So the 1983 Sixers, we'll get to today's game in a minute, but I like talking to guys like you about when you played. So the 1983 Philadelphia 76ers, legendarily known as the Fo Sixers, with you and
Mm-hmm.
Moses and Mo Cheeks and Ivoroni and Andrew Toney and Bobby Jones and on and on. I have said
Right.
many times, is not remembered enough because for one season I thought you were the best team I ever saw. And people, because the Celtics and the Lakers at that time and then the Bulls a generation later won multiple titles, when people talk about the best teams, they don't tend to mention that. But for one, would you take your chances with that team for any one season against any team that has ever been assembled?
Well, of course I would. I grew up idolizing the guys who came before me. Bill Russell and 11 championships in 13 years. Phenomenal. Oscar Robertson, the Big O, even though he only had the one championship in Milwaukee when he was playing with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or whatever, still pound for pound, probably probably the best of the best.
Mm.
And Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain. I'm never going to really put anybody ahead of those guys. When I pick my all-time team, I love watching LeBron and Magic and Larry Bird and Kareem and Moses. But when I was 15 years old, I said it's West, Baylor, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, and Wilt Chamberlain.
Hmm.
And next week I'll be 71. That's still my team. That's my first team.
Yeah.
Everybody else starts with becoming the six man and 6 through 10 and 11 through 15. I'm one of those guys, one of those principal guys. Your principles guide you and your values. So I value that team more than any other. And that's an all-star team when it comes to teams that got out there and won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to beat 12-1. It was four and one loss to Milwaukee, which was our nemesis, and we're not that mad at that situation. But nobody's going to beat 12-1. I think the Bulls were 16-2, and there are probably a few others who have lost 3 games or 4 games or whatever. But until somebody beats 12-1, they should put us in the number one spot.
You guys are awfully good. The doctor is with me, Julius Erving. Let me ask you this. When we talk about great players now, a big part of the conversation is how many rings they have, how many championships. That is such a huge part of the way we identify and judge, value the greatness of players. What do you think of using that as part of the evaluation of a player's greatness? Do you think it's the championship should be as important as they seem to have become when we evaluate a player's greatness?
Well, I think ultimately, you have to have the crowning moment, where you're a champion. As far as champion multiple times being the determining factor in team sport, it's a little different than golf and tennis. And, in golf you can win a major tournament, and it takes you Thursday to Sunday to win a major tournament. In basketball, it takes you September to June to claim the major, and then you need 11 other guys who are in sync with you, who make it, a reality. So I think in team sports, we are groomed and we're trained and we're focused on the ultimate prize. Used to be a lot more so back in the day than now. I mean, I see the celebration now, and I remember. I might do something spectacular, but I wouldn't dare celebrate until riding the bus back to school if we won the game. if you didn't win the game, you just get on the bus and shut up. It's like, all right, we got practice. We got practice when we get back, or we got practice the next day, or whatever. There was no premature celebrations, and now there's celebrations. I mean, every play is just like, doing something that you're trained to do, you work so hard to be able to do, and then when you do it, you got to let out this growl or this groan or bump your chest, or jump up on the scorer's table and wave your fists and whatever. So, I guess it's counting every second of every day, and letting it work for you in terms of how it affects your emotions or whatever. So, guys are winning championship every week. Based on some of the reactions and some of the highlights. And it's kind of crazy. And I'm old school, and maybe I'm hating a little bit or whatever, because I probably had a lot of celebratory moments that I just didn't celebrate because it wasn't part of my DNA. And the ultimate goal was to win the league title, win the division title, win the championship. So, my experience is there with the ABA and the two championships over there, and then the chase for the title in Philly, which was basically a 7-year chase. I mean, we went we played for the championship 4 times in 7 years. So just getting there 4 times is quite an accomplishment. Makes it sound a little bit like the Buffalo Bills, but getting there in year 7 was, ultimately something that if it hadn't happened, I think I might be viewed a little differently, but not a whole lot differently, because guys know how to market themselves and sell themselves these days. So guys without rings are doing very well, and have made that transition from player to former player, and you can do it. So, and the other side of the coin is, you have guys with 6 or 7 rings who probably never played in an All-Star game. I think Robert Horry in that sense, a great ring collector and great factor on winning teams multiple times. Probably not on the ballot for the Hall of Fame unless they decide, well, we're going to put you in the Hall of Fame because you got a lot of rings.
The great Dr. J is with me here, Julius Erving. And I'm just looking back at your statistics. Your final year in the NBA was your age 36 season, and I certainly remember that season for you. LeBron James is 36 right now,
Yeah.
and is playing at or at least near the very best he ever has. So what do you think of that when you see these athletes that are able to play? I'm sure a lot of it has to do with all sorts of things, nutrition and whatever else that is. But what do you make of a guy like LeBron in particular who is doing what he is doing at the age of 36?
I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a part of the original plan in terms of coming out of high school and knowing that this is going to be the statement for his life. Playing basketball, I'm going to be a professional basketball player, and I'm going to be out there as long as I can be there, and I'm going to accomplish as much as I can accomplish. When I came out of high school, I was trying to be a student athlete at the University of Massachusetts,
Mm-hmm.
and then I grew 3 inches and gained 30 pounds while in college, and my career path certainly changed from wanting to study business and go to work in some firm in New York to becoming a professional athlete and hoping that I can go there, I can play there for 10 years, and so the mindset totally different during that time. When I got to 10 years, I was like, man, that went fast, so, I signed a new deal, and next thing I know, I'm at 13 years, 14 years, and the next thing I know, I'm at 16 years, and, I'm figuring I need to figure out what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I haven't made enough. During the course of my 16 years, I probably, came close to making $16 million or whatever, and spent 2/3 of that in lifestyle, and so suddenly the net takeaway was, all right, I got about four to start my life with, or whatever. He's gonna have like 400
Yeah, more than that.
when he's finished, and like you said, more than that, and also, it's not over until he says it's over. And you look at Tom Brady's accomplishments in football. Guys are going well into their 40s and playing at a very high level, the highest level possible. And in team sport, you can do that. Individual sports it's a lot tougher, and generationally speaking, it's a lot tougher. You look at when Larry Bird finished, and he was in his early 30s, and
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was in his early 30s, or whatever. So the norm is, especially for the previous generations, to finish, in the early to middle 30s. So LeBron is a phenomenon, and I think he put a fire under Carmelo Anthony, because he said, we came in together, and shoot, I'm hobbling up and down the court, and this guy's in the ballots for MVP. So he tightened up his game and got on a nice program, and now I see he's playing better. So yeah, LeBron is the new model.
Dr. J, it is such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. A happy early birthday to you, as you mentioned. This is coming up next week. It's great to see you. Thank you so much. We'll check in again soon. Be well.
Thank you, Greeny.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.